Part 4. The Sword. Action versus Argument. In 131 BC, the Roman consul Mucianus was laying siege to the Greek town of Pergamum. He needed a battering ram to smash down the city gates. He sent a messenger to a nearby shipyard with a specific order: "Send me the largest shipmast you have." The naval engineer at the shipyard received the order. He looked at the request. He looked at the masts. He was an expert. He knew that the largest mast was too heavy and cumbersome. He knew that the smaller mast would be faster, easier to transport, and pack more force. So, being a logical man who wanted to help his general, he disobeyed the order. He sent the smaller mast. He included a note explaining the physics of why the smaller mast was better. He thought he would be praised for his intelligence. When the smaller mast arrived, Mucianus was furious. He didn't care about the physics. He cared about obedience. He ordered the engineer to be brought to him. The engineer arrived, confident. He started to explain the math. He started to argue his case. "Sir, if you look at the velocity..." Mucianus didn't listen. He ordered his soldiers to strip the engineer naked and flog him to death with heavy rods. The engineer was right. The smaller mast was better. But he won the argument, and he lost his life. Welcome to Part 4 of the Strategy of Power. Today, we are looking at the futility of words. We are looking at why trying to convince people with logic is a trap that destroys your standing. We are covering Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. The Pyrrhic Victory of Argument. We love to argue. When someone disagrees with us, our ego flares up. We think, if I just explain the facts, they will understand. If I just show them the data, they will agree. Robert Greene warns us, this is a delusion. When you argue with someone, you are not attacking their ideas. You are attacking their intelligence. You are attacking their pride. Even if your logic is perfect, you are making them feel stupid. And people who feel stupid do not agree with you. They resent you. You might win the battle. They shut up. But you lose the war. They now hate you and will sabotage you later. The engineer in Pergamum didn't understand that Mucianus didn't want a physics lesson. He wanted to feel like a powerful general whose orders were absolute. By arguing, the engineer insulted the general's authority. Words are interpreted according to the mood of the listener. If your boss is insecure, your helpful suggestion sounds like criticism. If your partner is tired, your logical explanation sounds like nagging. You cannot control how people hear your words. But action is undeniable. We don't argue with a burning building. We don't argue with a check clearing in the bank. We don't argue with a scoreboard. Action bypasses the ego and hits the brain directly. The Michelangelo Tactic. So, what do you do when the boss is wrong? Do you just let them fail? No. You use demonstration. Let's look at Michelangelo. When he was carving his masterpiece, the David, the mayor of Florence came to visit. The mayor was pompous and wanted to look like an art critic. He looked at the statue and said, "It's magnificent, but the nose is too big." Michelangelo knew the nose was perfect. He knew the mayor was an idiot who was looking at it from a bad angle below the scaffolding. If he had argued, "No, sir, it's just the perspective," the mayor would have dug in. The mayor would have forced him to ruin the statue just to prove a point. So Michelangelo didn't say a word. He invited the mayor to climb the scaffolding with him. Michelangelo picked up a chisel and secretly grabbed a handful of marble dust from the floor. He went to the nose and started tapping lightly with the chisel. He wasn't actually cutting anything. He was just letting the dust from his hand fall down. The mayor watched the dust fall. He thought Michelangelo was fixing it. After a minute, Michelangelo stopped and asked, "Look at it now." The mayor looked and said, "Ah, much better. Now you have given it life." Michelangelo saved his statue, kept his integrity, and made the mayor feel happy, all without a single word of argument. This is the height of power. Agree verbally, then act as you see fit, or create a situation where the other person discovers the truth themselves. Modern application, the silent demo. How does this apply to your career? Stop sending long emails explaining why your strategy is better. Stop debating in meetings. Build the prototype. If you think the new software is better, don't argue for it. Install it on your laptop, do the work twice as fast, and let your boss see the result. When they ask, "How did you do that so fast?" you say, "Oh, I used this tool." Suddenly, they want the tool. You didn't sell it, you demonstrated it. The show don't tell rule. If you are a designer, don't argue about why the blue is better than the red. Mock up both versions, put them side by side. The eye will naturally go to the better one. You remove your ego from the equation. It's not my idea versus your idea. It is image A versus image B. The power of symbols. Law 9 goes deeper than just practical demonstration. It touches on the power of symbols. Green argues that symbols are the ultimate form of action. A symbol conveys a message without words, so it cannot be argued with. When the colonies wanted to unite against Britain, they didn't write a 50-page essay on unity. They drew a snake cut into pieces with the words "join or die." It was visceral. It was instant. When a king wanted to show his power, he didn't give a speech about his wealth. He wore a crown of gold and velvet that was so heavy he could barely lift his head. The crown was the argument. In your life, use visual symbols to communicate your status. The way you dress is an action. The neatness of your desk is an action. The calmness of your demeanor is an action. These things tell people who you are more effectively than any LinkedIn bio ever could. The only exception. Is there ever a time to argue? Yes, when you are powerless and caught in a lie. If you have been caught doing something wrong, action will only reveal your guilt. In that case, you must use words to create a smokescreen. You argue to distract. But if you are trying to advance, if you are trying to win, words are dead weight. The homework, the no argument diet. Here is your practice for this week. I want you to go on a no argument diet. For the next 3 days, catch yourself every time you are about to say the word because. Because is the start of an argument. It is the start of a justification. If your partner says you didn't clean the dishes well enough, do not explain why. The sponge was old, you were tired. Just pick up the sponge and clean them again. Watch how quickly the tension dissolves. If your boss critiques your report, do not defend your logic. Say, "I see, let me take a look at that." Then make the change, or use the Michelangelo tactic. Notice how much energy you save. Notice how much more dignified you feel. When you argue, you are dancing to someone else's music. When you act, you set the tempo. The truth is generally seen, rarely heard. In the next part, we are going to look at the structure of your relationships. We are going to ask a hard question. Who do you actually need? We are going to cover the terrifying reality of dependency. I'll see you in part 5, the web.